Welcome to the MLB Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we're rolling along in the MLB here. Got a Thursday slate of baseball for you guys. Decent amount of games, obviously, here, as not too many teams are on a break here on a Thursday. On Wednesday night, we went another 500 there in our record, 3-3. Another little tiny loss of money as well, as we continue to just hover. Were we up, Nate? Correct me if I'm wrong, please.
Yeah, we lost the half unit bets. We hit that Astros money line, so yeah, money up.
I need to get my calculations here in order for Jack when he edits this video, so I'll make sure to do that. I know we went 3-3, and Nate is correct that we portioned our units intelligently here, so that we did make sure to stay up units, and I won't give us and I'll give us more credit next time, I promise. I also want to remind you to like and subscribe to the page. We're coming back to you each and every weekday this season. Also, head to thelines.com. Use that odds finder tool we have up there that Nate and I are using each and every morning to get the best odds available to us from these books, giving us bets this season. Nate, where are we kicking things off here on the Thursday, the 17th? We're going to San Diego?
Yeah, we're going to a fade of Rich Hill, who is definitely, he's like 43 at this point. And I'm taking under 15.5 outs for him. I was interested in fading him to say a certain amount of hits or earned runs, but honestly, I don't know how long before he gets the hook here. He's made 2 starts for the Padres, and they've taken him out in the third after 3 innings, basically taking him out in the fourth. So 15.5 outs, he would have to go 5.2 innings at least to get over that. The last time he did that was July 17th. With 19th with the Pirates, and that took 97 pitches. I don't think the Padres are interested in stretching him out that long, especially when you look at the rest situation. They gave him 6 days between his first 2 starts there. Now he's starting on 5 days rest, and in his career, like a lot of guys, the ERA goes up, the starts become shorter when he has shorter rest. He averages just 4.5 innings pitched in his career, or last year when he was on 4 days rest. This year, post All-Star break, regardless of rest, he's averaging 4.6 innings pitched with a 6.7 ERA. And the matchup against Arizona, it's about average in terms of lefties, but I think it's good in terms of just forcing Hill to work. Arizona's offense does make guys work here. I mean, in August against lefties, they have 21 walks to 25 Ks. On the season, in general, they have the 10th lowest outside swing percentage, 6th lowest swing percentage, and 3rd highest contact rate. So they're going to wait for good pitches. They're gonna make a guy like Hill work, throw pitches. I mean, when he faced them on July 7th, he threw 95 pitches through 4 innings, 4 walks to 3 Ks. And then, of course, he faced them again here in his second start with the Padres. It took him 83 pitches to go through 3 1/3, and he gave up 7 hits in the process. So this is my favorite bet. This is why I go a full unit here. I do like the Diamondbacks' first 5 money line as well, which is plus 114, because you got Zach Gallen on the other side. And if I'm fading Hill, and Hill's going to be yanked in the 3rd or 4th because he's going to give up some production, I trust Gallen, still leading the Cy Young poll, the latest one to come out here. I trust him to do just fine against this Padres lineup, which I guess burned us earlier this week getting to Jack Flaherty, that is. Gallen, I mean, He's 4.3 WAR, same as last year, just lights out. He's also an extremely aggressive pitcher this year, 69% first strike rate, great against a team like the Padres that is not striking out, that is making you work, and I mean, yeah, better swinging strike rate than last year even. I mean, I don't really need to go into it. He's a young stud, and Rich Hill is old bull going out to pasture here.
He is a bull. Rich Hill is a bull. It was such an interesting move to get Rich Hill there for the Pods like they did. They're just an underachieving team with a dude on his way out. They don't have much to. They don't have any room anymore for losses due to the Pods, but that's surprising that you can still get such a good price. I do want to be honest. By the time people see this, the D-backs first 5 money line probably will be much lower than it is at the plus money that you're able to find it at early. It's just so insane that the books are continue to give these Padres so much respect. Like they're so far out of the playoff race, and they're still like expected to win games. You could still get them at like a bad price to make the playoffs in the wild card. So they just on paper, it's like one of those teams where the books are just like, we'll just continue to overinflate everything that is Padres lines because you guys keep betting it and you guys think they're good because you see Soto and Tatis and Bogarts and everybody else on that team, and it's just not achieving the way that it should with the names that are on the roster. And so, yeah, Zach Gallen, it's a wide open NL Cy Young race because Spencer Strider just kept giving it back to him after it kind of seemed like he might have had the pull there with 4 straight 10 strikeout games, and winning the sort of top 10 Sports Center highlight game. He was always there, and it seemed like he had it, and then he just blew up. And Zach Gallen can definitely sort of seize more control of it with a good win in a division game tonight. So I'm starting in a place where I have a similar fade to you, where I'm strongly fading Adam Wainwright. I've just been sitting here waiting for Adam Wainwright's pitching day to come through the last like 2 months, Nate. Like it's been awesome. It's just one of those things where you're like, to compare it to the NBA, it's like, oh, the Kings are playing the Clippers tonight. Let's get the over on the on the total there because we're about to get some runs, and that's what I'm doing with Adam Wainwright tonight. I'm going, and the thing is I'm not backing the Mets because one, as you can see in this T-shirt, I am a Mets fan, which means when I bet on them, they lose. Not really trying to go down that route. Jose Quintana's on the mound versus Waino, and though he's looked good at his sort of surface level numbers there in the last 4 starts that he's made for the Mets since coming back from injury and missing the first part of the season, he's been all right. But the thing that scares me is the 3.03 ERA is accompanied by a full run worse xERA at 4.14. The FIP is at 2.93, and it's all the way up to 5.03 for his expected FIP. Those are very skewed numbers there. Too big of a differential for me to believe in the core numbers that he's throwing. His stuff numbers, if you will, also not there, with a little bit of velocity down to be expected coming back from injury. But let's just focus on Waino and talk about these bets through the lens of Adam Wainwright. First 5 over 5.5 runs. That's minus 138 on FanDuel. I'm taking that. I'm splitting a unit, so half a unit on that and a half a unit on over 10.5 for the total game. You can get that at minus 104 on FanDuel. I wanted to split my units there between a bet that I feel really good about and another one I feel good about, but I get better odds. And then I'm going to target a little bit of Paul Goldschmidt here because he has absurd numbers against Jose Quintana, and we know that he also is one of the best righties, at least in the last 20 years, when it comes to facing lefty pitching. He just mashes lefties. So Goldschmidt, a hit or hits plus runs plus RBI. So combined for hits plus runs plus RBI over 2.5 there. That's plus money, plus 115 on DraftKings. I'm putting a quarter unit on that. You'll usually find that bet a lot closer to 1.5 in terms of hits, runs, and RBI, but we know what Goldschmidt does here. And I'm also going to take a little sprinkle, a $5 bet on a Goldschmidt home run at plus 450. I mean, at this point, like, it's crazy, but they juice these home runs way down to what I think they should be. I think 450 is now where you can actually consider it value on a home run bet for a guy like Goldie. Just to talk about him versus Quintana, 11 for 17 in his career versus Quintana, 647 batting average with 3 dingers in there. And then you got Arenado as well, by the way. Like, you can't really pitch around him either. He's only 2 for 15. Both of those hits, though, are home runs against Jose Quintana as well. And basically, this offense versus lefties, thanks to Arenado and Goldschmidt especially, is a top 5-7 offense in baseball when facing lefties over the course of the last, since July started, which is really where I'm starting a lot of my stat finding these days. Is let's talk about the last 6 weeks or so, and that's where they continue to be one of the best. The overall batting average against Jose Quintana for the guys in this lineup is going to be 306, and that is a little bit skewed because of the fact that Paulie G over here is batting 647 against him. But still, like I said, if you're going to have him come up 4 times, I think he's getting on base at least like 3 of them. And then looking at Waino, I wanted to start there, but I saved the best for last. And this brings me great joy because I still have the vision of Wainwright striking out Carlos Beltran in 2006 in the NLCS burned into my mind, so I love watching him get clobbered. 0-6 his last 7 starts. I do want to be fully transparent here. The last time he had a quality start and got a win was against the New York Mets in June. Since then, his ERA has raised 3 full points, and in his last 7 starts, it's a 14.87 ERA because he's given up a ton of runs in just 3.1 innings pitched per game. He can't make it past the third almost ever. He's hasn't gotten more than 5 Ks in his last 7. He's gotten 0 in 3 of them. I think you can go under 3.5 Ks for him as well because I don't see him lasting very long in this game if you want to fade Waino in that sense. He's given up 8 dingers. He's got 15 strikeouts compared to 13 walks in those last 23 innings that he's pitched, with a nice sparkly 2.09 whip as 2 guys an inning are getting on base against him. And the Mets bats from top to bottom are very good against Wainwright, an average of 326. That includes 2 of the dudes at the bottom of the lineup who have only had about 70 to 80 career batting plate attempts for the Mets here, and they also both are batting above 350 against Wainwright. So everybody sees him well. Everybody who's young on this Mets team that's faced him has only faced him as an old, sort of on his way out of the league type of player. So it's just a juicy matchup to take runs against Adam Wainwright and Jose Quintana, who has pitched well above what his actual numbers should be.
It must be National Old Pitcher Day with these 2 guys. How does Kevin Costner keep getting work?
Exactly.
Yeah, I have no problem fading both of those guys. The Cardinals, as a team, really hit lefties really well. It's not just those 2 guys you mentioned. Quintana, the one thing he does do is limit homers, but he does give up a ton of hits, and you look at his game log against the Cardinals recently with the Cubs, etc. I do think there's going to be plenty of production on both sides. Yeah, if we're expecting that game to go over, though, I think we're both in alignment here on the under in Cleveland once again. Cleveland been a team you can try to bank on the under here, and I'm pretty confident it's 8.5 runs. Minus 104 is where I found it. Even with Xavier Curry opening for the Guardians, I don't know how long he's going to last. I mean, probably only around 3 innings is all they expect from him, but they have a really good bullpen to patch together behind him. And really, I'm feeling confident about Tarek Skubal, who's making his 8th start of the year now for the Tigers, is a guy with incredible upside, and a lot of his surface numbers are not great with a 4.2 ERA, but he has a 2.7 xERA. He has some incredible, ground ball rate, 54%. He has a 28% K rate. He has a career best, career low 4.5% barrel rate. So he's just not giving much up, and then you can't get a better matchup against the worst hitting lefty team. Versus lefties. I mean, worst hitting team in general in the Guardians, but they have a 78 weighted runs created plus, 284 WOBA against lefties, and that's despite a low K rate. And I don't think you face many lefties like Skubal who can make you strike out, even if that's not your approach. I mean, 98 miles per hour, filthy stuff. A bit unlucky in his last start in Fenway or at Miami. You can look at that and understand that. His other starts recently have been pretty dominant. I know you might, you're on Detroit to be up in the first 5 because of Skubal, and I think that's fine. I would only go like a quarter unit on that just because I'm still not trusting this offense, even though it's been much better in the last couple of weeks. They're still missing Austin Meadows and Javi Baez, I think, so I'm not super high on them, but like I said, Xavier Curry, he's a converted reliever. And while he does have some vulnerabilities, he classic reliever stuff, right? He holds guys to 177 average with runners in scoring position. He knows how to get out of a jam. He's held batters to just 206 hitting in his 5 starts, and they're just not going to expect too much of him. Just get us through a few innings, and we'll get to that good bullpen. So these teams have gone under in 9 of their last 12 meetings, and in 5 of 6 this year, they've averaged just 4.7 runs total when they've met, which is not surprising considering we're talking about the third and worst offense in the league, depending what metric you want to look at. So I'm sticking with the under here first and foremost.
Yeah, I think the under is a good play. The thing that would scare me is Xavier Curry more than anything. It's really interesting too because Tarek Skubal's numbers are wildly different when he's on the road versus at home. I don't know if you caught that specifically, but he's pitched 18 innings at home and has not allowed an earned run rather. He has an ERA of 0.00 in 18 innings at home. On the road, 14 innings, 9.64 ERA, 15 earned runs in those
Tiny
14
sample
innings. That's how
size,
you get.
though. Like I,
It's
yeah,
a
no, I
small
know.
sample size. I'm not reading into it. I'm nerding out on some weird baseball stats, which happens, and I also wanted to take it a step deeper and explain why that is. You have to look at the teams he's played on the road, and it's not that hard to do to look at the short amount of starts that he's played. But if you look at his game log on the road, he's facing teams that Miami Marlins are a very good, like top 8 offense in the last 2 months against lefties because they hit them so well with some of those big guys on the right side of the plate like Jorge Soler. The Giants, he gets the Giants at home. He gets a Tampa Bay team that was just struggling at home and is also not in the top half of the league against lefties. They're much better against righties. And then Kansas City as well. Like Kansas City, by the way, is the best offensive team in the league since July 14th. I don't know if anybody knew that, but they have the highest OPS of any team in the league since July 14th. And yes, I'm calling them at least a top 5 offense in the league since July 14th. And what happened then was Bobby Witt Jr. came up and really has made a humongous difference for them, putting somebody on base finally for them. Freddie Fermin as well, the backup catcher, has had a really nice start to his career. I'm going down too far on the Royals. The point is that Tarek Skubal is much better than those numbers on the road. So I just wanted to make clear that we were both aware of these weird numbers on the road and still say that when it comes to this matchup, they're playing like you said, the worst offense in the league. I mean, against any side of the pitcher, any handed pitcher, either left or right. This Cleveland team has the worst slugging percentage and fewest home runs all season, and there's a good reason for that. Their WRC plus against lefties in the last 2 months, Nate, is 65. Just so you know, if you're not above 100, you're probably not. If you're not at least near 100, you're certainly an impotent offense in baseball at the very best. So there's no reason to believe that that'll continue in this game. I do think that Xavier Curry is someone who continues to be susceptible. You know, he's had a couple of. He's a young guy who occasionally has these numbers that, like, he's had like 2 or 3 games with some strikeout numbers, but I don't think he's going to be able to put it together against a Detroit team that has been much better against righties than lefties. They have the advantage in terms of the split here with their bats against a righty pitcher versus these Cleveland bats having to go up against a lefty pitcher, where they go from a bad offense to a historically bad offense essentially once they start facing lefties. So to be clear, I am the way I'm betting this game. Nate kind of talked about it a little bit. I am taking the first 5 money line for Detroit. Cleveland's got such a better bullpen here. They really have that matchup on lock in this one and a lot of the games that they play, which is another good reason for taking an under with them. So I fully support you on that. But it's also a situation where I don't want to have to bet on Detroit to maintain a lead and then pull this one out with their bullpen. I think Skubal gets it done and keeps this thing to like under 2 runs or so in the first inning that he's able to limit them to. And then we'll see if Xavier can make it 5 or 6 innings in this one before he has to get pulled. So that is all the time we have for you in this one, though. Going to continue to ride the little streak we started here of making some money each night on Thursday night tonight. So continue to follow along, like and subscribe. Until we see you next, happy betting.